All right, we are live on Friday office hours. Eric, take it away,
Live,
man.
live from Lake Michigan and Florianopolis, Brazil. Great to see everybody on here. Thanks for joining. Justin and I are happy to hop on and hope that you guys are having a great Friday. We have got a lot of things happening with Creative Cash Partners. We got our salesman going and cranking out a lot of calls, working on new lead magnets for our ad strategies. We've got some big news on the Lake House property in Minnesota, which is it's penciling out for $1 million range profit on that one between us and partners. So that's super exciting. And we were estimating the cost super high. To be careful on those, there was about a 50 to 100K stormwater cost that we might not even need because there's room to approve them as just rain gardens instead of that. So that was one little detail that was really cool about our past project there. But everything is going pretty well. We're excited and we're grateful for everything that's happening. We're kind of in a marketing phase now where we're working on drumming up more deals, and Justin's got a massive system built, so we're just working on getting more and more deals into the system to keep it rolling. So thanks for joining us here. We hope that you're doing well, and we want to hear your story too, what you're working on this week, how we can help you build your business or build your real estate.
I want to also just a quick order of business. I want to encourage you, if you have a camera and you're willing to come on camera, come join us because it just helps make it feel a little bit more community. I totally understand though if you're driving or if you're doing something. Oh, look at that! Driving. We got Jeremiah Smith driving, and he went ahead and turned it on here. Love it. But I totally understand if you're doing something else and you can't hop on video. That's totally fine. But we love to see you guys. We love to see your faces and chat with you during this time. So if you can hop on, turn on your video, join us. Aaron, good to see you.
Hey, good morning. How are you guys?
Doing well. What's going on in your neck of the woods?
Not much really. I'm getting some looking forward to start getting that all lined out and deploying it.
Sorry, what was that? You cut out there a little bit. You're getting some what?
Yeah, I'm having some audio issues here. Is that a little better?
That was better.
Okay. Just getting my business credit lines organized, and I got a couple of them approved and have the cards in hand, but I'm really trying to get the lines of credit rather than the cards.
Yep. Yeah, that's a little bit of a long.
So I'm working on that, and yeah. Well, from my understanding, it's you get approved for a couple of cards, and then you start getting approved for lines, and then start building those as time goes on. I'm just completely out of capital. It's all deployed right now, which isn't a bad thing, but it's like now I need more to feed into the machine.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's primarily deployed as loans.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. Nice.
Where are you lending right now, primarily?
So I have a borrower in Virginia. I have one in Ohio. And then just in my local market, I've got a pretty big borrower that can pretty much utilize all the funds I can bring them.
Nice.
And they're pretty secure. I think I've done 9 loans with them in the last year, and they're great to work with. Their market is mobile home parks and storage units across the country, mostly in Georgia and Texas is where I've been lending with those guys.
Cool. Love to hear that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. The same grind. You just need more capital.
Yep. So I recently got a business credit card and a partnership that's doing some flips, multifamilies and things. And they, I think it was $50K, 0% for 18 months. So it was a Chase one of the Chase Business Suite ones. So it's powerful when you get that kind of funding to help you run your stuff.
Yeah, I just got one yesterday from Hillcrest Bank, which I guess is a subsidiary of US Bank, or some kind of partnership there. But that's 25,000 for 18 months at 0%. So I do have some stuff active with Chase right now. I should be getting their approval here. I was hoping this week, but it looks like it's probably coming in next week, as well as US Bank and Bank of America.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah, US Bank is a little bit more tight from my experience.
Is that right?
Yeah, I got huge credit lines with multiple vendors. Just I don't even know what my ultimate credit line ended up being. It was somewhere north of, like, I think collectively it's north of 80,000 or something like that. But some of those they're timed out and they're not really worth, like, once they get to a certain point, like, they're charging interest. It just it's not worth utilizing that. It's good when they're on that short run of 0% or whatever. But I had all these large credit lines with all these major vendors, and then US Bank was like, here's 4,000 for you. I was like, oh, okay. All right. Not sure what triggered you to be worried about me, but whatever.
Did you kind of start out with the credit cards and credit lines and then start attracting capital as you were deploying that?
Me?
Or yes, or are you still using the credit lines from traditional banks?
Ironically, I don't think I've actually utilized the credit lines as much as I've used my own cash. I had a good lump sum of my own cash, so I just threw that all into deals. But that's the reverse of what you usually should do.
Well, I've been using all my own funds, and those have been, I mean, it's great, they're all out, but it's like now I don't have any capital to lend, so I'm defaulting to the credit cards.
My problem was that at the time that I got the credit lines, I went and worked hard on getting all of these credit lines and had this realization that I don't want to disparage Gator or anything like that, but I was in Gator, and a lot of the deals just it clicked with me. I was like, these are not good deals. I don't 99% of the deals were not good deals, and I didn't want to lend on them. So I had these great credit lines and no deals that I felt comfortable putting them in. And then they timed out the credit lines, where it's like, now it's like, it doesn't make sense to use those lines.
When you got like 2 months left on the 0%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on what you're trying to do. I think those 0% credit cards are really good for a business. Like if you've got a wholesale business and you've got good proof of concept, where it's like you're running ads, you've got a virtual assistant, you're doing whatever, and you're crushing deals, but funding is a limitation, and you know that if you get that funding, you can just do a little bit more of what you were already doing, like pay a little bit more in ads or get a little bit more money to help an assistant, whatever, then you can make more money, then that's where it makes sense. Or like Justin and I even considered that just for operating expenses for Creative Cash Partners. Like, yeah, could we get that a little bit? Could we inject that somewhere that would help us grow strategically and stuff? But to get those, unless you can get like $1 million plus, to get those and actually make a really good return lending on it, you're super, super limited, which is why I didn't even really pursue that, because you can get 200, 300K, whatever, maybe 500K in business credits or business cards or anything. But you can also just make one friend that's got $5 million faster than you think. People, like, there's a lot of people, once you get to know people in this community, there's a lot of people that have that and way more than that. So why not find out what they like, what their investing preferences are, and tailor package deals for them? And then you're kind of an operator. You're essentially arbitraging the money, which is the whole game of lending. Even if you're a $200 million lender and you're making tons of money, you're still just arbitraging money. You're taking it from private backers, hedge funds, banks, whatever, at whatever percent you're getting it at. And then you go through all the hassle of finding and vetting the borrowers. You're taking on risk. You've got employees. You've got this whole operation to actually turn that money, but you're basically just arbitraging it. And there's no theoretical limit to how much you can keep growing by arbitraging more and more and getting more employees and growing the business here and there.
That's exactly how I see to scale this, is exactly what you just said. Do you find, like when you were starting out, do you find the majority of the people that have the money that are willing to invest with you in the community, or have you gone outside of the community to find those type of people?
A lot of mine have been in the community, but mostly just because that's where I network. Like even without networking outside of the community very much, people have come up to me and said, "Oh, I saw that you do private money lending. I want to put money with you." Like a friend of a friend, like one of the guys that, like, my dad loves watching the local high school football team in Indiana. He always goes with a friend and they watch the games together. And he just asked, like, "Well, what are your kids doing? What are your kids doing?" And my dad eventually got to the topic that I was doing private money lending, and the guy's like, "Oh, well, I want to put money with you." So there's like, I just haven't really tried like on a serious concentrated effort to do capital raising outside of our community, mostly because within the community I found so many people that want to fund deals that I've had enough of what I needed.
Yeah.
But somebody who does it well, like even outside of our community, can be better, because people inside the community know that they can make 15% on deals or whatever. So people outside of the community are the people that, like, if you tell them, "Hey, this is a rock solid secure deal, you're getting 8%, 9, 10%, it's easier for them to say, like, "Oh, okay, that sounds good, I'll do it."
Yeah. We've had,
Yeah, you've kind of got, like, inside the community, you have more credibility because people know you, and that's where you're marketing to, and you've got those relationships built. But you've got the expectation of 18, 20% returns. And then outside the community, it's more of a vast area where people don't know you, and you've got to increase your marketing. But 10 to 12% returns are phenomenal to that sector of people.
Yeah. Well, and then there's like family offices and things like that where they just want to get a nice consistent return. They've got a set rate, and it's, whatever it is, 8, 10%. All of our money just goes out, and that's what we want to get. And it's simple.
Find those people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We've got some interest from people with connections to family offices and family. I don't know if we've spoken directly with family offices yet, but we've had individuals who definitely have those connections with family offices who can, who've talked with us about that possibility, of working together.
Yeah, that seems to be the whale right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
For sure.
Justin, I've gone down a rabbit hole in your YouTube collection, by the way.
I see
you've got phenomenal interviews in there.
Awesome.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing a few of them, and I'm glad you're enjoying them. I'd like to get that up and running again. It went on pause in October of last year, just because of this business cranking away and a lot of bandwidth issues, and trying to figure out how do I scale myself out of the business enough to get back to doing some of those things. So I've got some opportunities and some possibilities for how we can do that, but we still need to get this. We still need to operationalize a few more things in our business that will help free up my time to be able to do more of those podcasts again. I really enjoy them. I was starting to get some really bigger guests lined up and things like that, which is fun.
Well, you're really good at it, so you should definitely pick that back up again.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate that. Yeah, I think my favorite interview was that one you shared with Case. That was fun. That one took a little bit more prep because a lot of the guests that I have on, I would just send them a quick questionnaire, like, what would you like to talk about, and they would share that. Well, Pace isn't going to send me any idea of what he'd like to talk about. He's like, no, you interview me. And so he had no preconceived notions, didn't share anything, about what he's currently working on or anything like that. It was just, I figure it out.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit more research to dig into that one and make sure that I was prepared. And
That was a good one.
interesting journey.
And Brandon Doring, I listened to that one twice back to back, and I immediately booked an appointment with him
Nice.
and got on a call with him that I think we were on a Zoom for about almost an hour. Yeah. Great dude.
Yeah. Brandon's a neat guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pick it back up, man. It's awesome stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Appreciate the feedback.
+1 vote for getting it going again.
Yep.
I want to clone Justin into like 3, and one of those clones can do full-time podcast and YouTube stuff.
Yeah. I need to clone myself too.
Yeah. Jeremy, how's it going? Thanks for hopping on here.
Yeah, all right. Had to find the unmute button. So, hey, Justin and Eric, new here. So glad to meet you and learn about your community. But I guess this format is more of just a shoot the breeze, go over wins, any new funding and opportunities. I'm based in, so very quick, short, won't put you to sleep or anything, I hope not, but I'm stuck in Florida for the last 18 years. My wife and I have been long-term landlords, still are, and as you know, prices have exploded, and rents have been also pretty good. We had a bad year last year, but luckily we had a good turnover and good tenants now, closer to what the market rents are sustaining. So that's been good. Recently, I started this year or end of last year, the slow flipping, sort of like the Scott Jelinek.
Yep, I'm familiar with that model.
So you buy cash, OPM, sell on owner financing, get the cash reserves, cash flows without being the landlord. It's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined a different community similar to that. So a bit of a spin, but it's the same idea. So I'm looking, as you were saying, it seems like there are more deals than funding available. You always run out of cash. You see a great deal, a property that you feel like you must have, and then, well, lenders are dry. So I'm here to make connections, to learn, to contribute, and see where it goes. I did secure a HELOC. We had a HELOC for like $250K, which is kind of nice, from Wells Fargo, and then during COVID they disbanded that. So I went to Citizens Bank and got 110,000 on like a $700,000 house, all paid up. So our primary, so I don't know why it's so low, but whatever. But hey, it's still good. And Citizens they made it very difficult. I really felt like it was the application process and everything. I can see how the markets have tightened up, rightfully so. Okay, but they made it really difficult. I can't withdraw more than like 10,000, not from the HELOC account, but from a savings account that I set up, and I can't take it out. So it's kind of restrictive to be able to use it. And also the first month or two, I got bombarded by third-party vendors, all these mortgage insurers and all this scams, and it's just, I didn't know that came with as part of the package of applying with Citizens.
Wow.
So I've already used 50K out of the 100 plus on the HELOC, and I see that there's a need to raise private money. Yeah, because otherwise, it's you can only
Yeah,
do so much.
totally makes sense. So are you doing the slow flip model in Florida?
No, I wish, but I have to go elsewhere. So this is done virtually remote, and I have one single family in Alabama, one now in Indiana. And Eric, you mentioned, are you from Indiana or?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So this house is in Marion. It's a small 2-1, and we're trying to. I have a JV set up, a partnership on that deal, and we're looking for rent to own tenants
Yep.
for buyers. It's not as easy as I thought it would be, like everything in life. And
It never is.
yeah, it never is, right? And my target markets are homes where you could still find the 30 to 50K homes. So Flint, Michigan,
Mhm.
Jackson, Mississippi, Alabama, those communities. Ohio is good. So the Midwest is there are a lot of such opportunities, but I I'd love to, like a kid in a candy store. This one, I want this one, but it has to make sense, and you have to be very selective and close on the right deals. They say you make money when you buy,
Oh yeah.
but there's the second leg of it when you're doing your flip. So anyway, glad to be here, and thank you for having me, and let's do business together.
Yep, for sure. We appreciate you being on here. And I've had plenty of horror stories of just properties taking ever to get rented, and then like there's the repairs and all that kind of stuff. So I have not yet done like a sell to somebody else on seller finance, but it's more and more tempting the more I think about it. I just love the model. Like, let them be the homeowners, let them take the pride in it, let them build equity in it, and let them deal with all the hassle. Just collect the check. So it's like, it's like you're offloading tons and tons of hassle and management in the near term right now. You're giving up the equity, because if you just rent it for 30 years, then theoretically 30 years from now, if it's kept in good condition, then the house is worth way more and you don't owe anything on it. So you're giving up a bunch of equity. But if you can do 10 times as much that way than doing the rents, because you're not dealing with all the renters, it just makes sense.
Right.
I'm throwing a YouTube video in the chat. This was an interview I did with Jack Bosch. Jack Bosch is a land flipper, and he actually does the slow flip, but on land.
Yep.
So he buys property, it just land super cheap, and then he'll sell it on seller finance, and he makes bank.
Yep.
Yeah, there's that video. This guy's made himself into a multi-millionaire. His net worth's well over 100 million, entirely on land and primarily on flipping land. So essentially what you're trying to do with houses, but just with land and less, little less headache.
I'm going to check it out, and absolutely, and subscribe and all that
Sure.
to you. That with interest rates at like 7-8% still, this model makes sense, or on paper it looks like it should make sense. Yes, you need to find buyers, and ideally you pre-sell and you already have buyers wanting to buy the house for them. But I like the concept of land slow flipping.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a much better model, much better deal. So hey, it's the beauty of this is that I'm new to flipping, and every day I'm learning something new, and that's wonderful. Never stop growing, and always develop the relationships and build a system, if you can, to be able to, as Justin, as you were saying, to automate, to streamline it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Jeremiah Smith, how you doing, man?
Hey, good. How are you guys?
Doing good.
saw you posted that you ran 50 miles. Like back in the day, you just did it without a lot of training. That was absolutely nuts.
Yeah, not once, but twice.
Jeez.
I was a cross country runner. I don't know if I could have done that. Like I did 13 miles on one training run and like a lot of 10 milers when I was in high school cross country, but I couldn't keep going for 50 miles. I would just be like, you know what? No, that it takes a ton of fortitude to do that. So I salute you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. I actually put the timing wrong in there, so it made it look like I did better than I really did. But it was first year I did it. It was 11 hours and 42 minutes of running nonstop, and the second year was 11 hours and 47 minutes. So it was a 5 minute difference. I mean, mind you, I was in better shape then, and I did do some running. But usually, like I'd go run for like usually an hour and change. It was part of my job. I had to stay in shape. I did force on force assessments at nuke facilities all over the country. So I was part of a hit team. And so we, kind of did the special forces ninja stuff at night and would try to penetrate the, showing the vulnerabilities to these infrastructures. And so anyhow, the team had to stay in shape. So part of that was running.
Wow.
But yeah, I was just like, 50 miles, I'll do it.
Jeez.
But my question, so this, you guys are super creative with how you collateralize and coming up with different ideas if you're going to lend. So I've been building a relationship with a guy locally here. He just joined Sub2 a couple of weeks ago, and I noticed he was here in my market. And the small world it is, the more I talk with him, I realized he knew a lot of people I did, and he's a contractor. He's done a lot of jobs for the people I know, and they spoke very highly of him. And so we've been seeing how can we work together. And so we went and had coffee this morning at a local coffee shop, and we were just kind of expressing and sharing what we do and what we're doing. And one of the things he had asked me, he's like, hey, you do lending kind of as a side hustle to some other things that you're doing in real estate. He's like, would you ever consider lending on something other than properties? And I said, well, what are you thinking? He said, well, a lot of times I have to turn jobs down because I'll have a lot of my money out, because he goes, oftentimes the people that I work with, he goes, I have to front end the money, materials and whatnot, maybe sometimes paying the subs and all that. He said, so it kind of limits me in being able to take new jobs if I'm kind of tapped out, depending on what all I got going on. He's like, would you consider lending in those scenarios for a portion of the profits, a portion of the equity? And I said, well, what does that look like? And he's like, well, oftentimes I'll bid a flooring install or whatever it is at $4 a square, but really I do it for, like, I can do it for $1.35. I said, obviously I'd have to think about that. And I mentioned a few other things, but I was just curious, right now I'm just trying to do, just using my own money. I only can keep like 1 to 2 first position lends going at a time out of the little bucket of money I use. But sometimes you end up with this awkward, like 27 or 32 grand, just sitting there. And it's like, well, I don't really want to do any more second position lending. And so I was thinking in those scenarios, what do you get, maybe just some ideas or ways to think about, maybe like a personal guarantee, or finding out what he might have to cross collateralize. Or at first glance, I was like, no way, like that's not something, what if one of your clients doesn't pay you, where does that put me, all that kind of stuff. Because he said one of them, he does repeat work for, it's a net 30 till he gets paid. And that's kind of what holds him up, because he has to front his money. So you guys are super creative with how to evaluate things and thinking about cross collateralizing, or how to tie some kind of a note to it. So just wanted to kind of throw it out. It was literally fresh from a conversation over coffee this morning.
Yeah, so have you heard of invoice factoring?
No.
He's basically asking you to do that. Well, there's a whole industry around that, and I would not do it on just a random one-off thing, because like without really understanding how that industry works and what their safeguards are and what they do. But like invoice factoring, there's this whole massive industry and tons of lenders doing it for, like, so imagine a big business, like a $200 million business that has the same problem, right? They've got an invoice that they're going to make a ton of money on, but they've got all these expenses now and they're running low on liquidity. So there's like invoice lenders basically that'll lend based on that invoice, and they get that collateral, like they get the first right to that payment. And like the cheapest ones are still sometimes around like 1 or 2% for a month of doing that. Of course, these are on big scales, but but it's a whole world. It's a whole business model, and it's an entire different set of risks. And you're right, in general, riskier than lending against 70% loan to value real estate, but it's a whole different ball game for how it's done correctly. So I would not recommend just like casually dipping your toes into that. I would just, if you're going to do that as your business model, then do it like the right way and really, really learn it. Learn how the experts do it. I wouldn't just randomly throw some money at a potential invoice for a flooring installer.
I gotcha. Appreciate that. Yeah, I've never heard of that before, invoice factoring. I think he's done somewhere around 90 to 100 rehab projects in the last 3 years for local investors here in Huntsville, in the Huntsville market. And so, the guy stays busy, but he still has to turn down work. But man, I appreciate it. That's kind of what I was looking for, just a nugget or a thought on that. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Glad to do it. Mr. Ethan, how you doing? Thanks for joining us on office hours.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it. Hey, Justin.
Hey, how are you?
Good, guys. Yeah. Sorry I was a little bit late. Was tied up with
All
a few
good.
other things. Family and I are getting ready to go out of town. So I'm pulling a lot of liquidity out of some investments, getting ready to just try to go all in with PML. And I'm vetting a borrower. I think I'm being connected to a borrower, big borrower in Texas. You guys probably know Mitch. I need to look up his last name, but he does a lot of fix and flips. And so
Pomeroy? Mitch
I think
Pomeroy?
so, yeah.
Okay.
And just, because he's on such a massive scale, and he offers to he's gonna buy this house and the one house in Florida, one house in Nevada, and he tells you each one he needs 200,000 whatever, and then he offers okay, you can get in with 20,000 if you want. What's the best way to underwrite when you're not loaning? They need 250, but you're loaning 10% of that. What do I need to do to make sure in those situations that I'm not just going in blindly because it's somebody who's been successful in the past?
Yeah, that gets tricky because if you're you would need to know everything that's going to be leveraged against that property. And yeah, I don't know, Eric, I don't know if you have any additional thoughts on that, but I that always makes me nervous when I'm going to come in and I'm only giving a small chunk of a bigger pie, and I don't really fully understand the whole pie. Like, I need to understand everything about that pie and how it's made up.
Yeah, it's like it's the classic saying, when there's too many cooks in the kitchen, then there's going to be fights and problems and arguments. Like if there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, it could be illegal. It could be just straight out, you've got so many people mixing money, throwing it in a pot together, and
Right.
that could be a very well like an SEC regulated security based on how many different hands are in the pot and how
You're
messy
essentially
it
creating a syndication out of a single family home, but it's not really a syndication.
Yeah. Fractional, like Pace and other people have been really bumping up fractional. They have found, as far as I understand, a legal way to do that. And they're kind of like the ones herding cats. Like they're the ones
Right.
that take all of this mess of like tons and tons of lenders giving a little bit, and we all throw it together, and they found a way to get the attorneys and the paperwork, and like they have all of these agreements as to like who's calling the shots, and if the deal goes bad, how do we handle it and what do we do next? Like they found a way to make sense out of that mess. Even with fractional, I would be super, super cautious about jumping into something like that because it's other people driving the ship. Like if it's my private money and I fund the whole thing, then I'm driving the ship. If it's not going well, then I'm foreclosing. And I'm not going to wait to talk with 10 other people and have a committee meeting around a table and be like, well, what do we do? Do we do this? Like, no. We just, if the money is at risk, then you need to protect it and take the steps immediately to protect it. So with fractional, I would consider it, and but be very, very cautious about it. If they're trying to throw a bunch of money together from a bunch of different people without that legal structure and platform, then it's a big no from me. Yeah, Jeremy, did you have another thought on that? I see you got the raised hand. I think you're muted.
Yeah. So when you're, let's say in that scenario, when there are other people involved, is it true that if you put 20K in out of 200 pooled, There's also the issue of the first position that usually you're not, you're second or third or whatever. So if a deal does go south, there's a lot less likelihood that you will be refunded, compensated somehow, or be able to, you wouldn't be able to foreclose or take over the property however it's set up. So that's another issue, I think. Or maybe I don't know what
it does depend on how they structure it. So
Right.
obviously, like say a fractional, a lot of those are going to be in, you know, they're going to take a lot of people and put them in one position. So it might be first position, it might be second position. That's an issue of clarity as well that you'd want to, you know, clarify. Is $20,000 just essentially a gap fund that people are looking for because they can't fund the down payment on their hard money loan or whatever? And those are tricky loans. I'm not saying they would absolutely never work out, but most of the time they don't.
So these kind of,
They just get they can get real tight, and a lot of times people that utilize that strategy on a large scale can end up getting over leveraged very, very quickly.
so in a fractional scenario like this, when you're providing a bridge loan or something, does, if you get a personal guarantee, does that give you any more protection, or really you should just be very wary of these deals in general?
A personal guarantee is without getting into legal stuff. I'm not gonna pretend to be a lawyer. You should always go to a lawyer, but just my understanding of it, at the end of the day, like I'm thinking about it from a logistical standpoint. We get a personal guarantee 100%, but that's like my last resort. Like that is the absolute last resort I'm going to utilize, because that requires a lawsuit. That requires, you know, a lot of additional effort, time, expense, loss of
It's
hair.
horrible.
I mean,
Horrible to go after those.
I'm already losing my hair, so I can't afford to lose too much more. Yeah, I hear you, Ethan. So I mean, like, it's just, you know, you don't want to be fully dependent on that security mechanism as like your only shot. That's like one of many that you should have in your bag of tricks to be able to pull if you really need to secure your money. Yeah. So I don't know if that answered your question fully, Ethan, and Jeremy, but hopefully that gave you a little bit of a nugget of insight at least.
No, that's super helpful. I think it's obviously it's the risk situation, right? That's why they offer a little bit more. I think they offer like 25% for 6 months. And I think they try to make it lucrative by doing it up front. Like, give us your money, we'll give you the interest the day you give us your money. Like, so a little cap.
Because if they're paying that much, they're essentially over raising by 25%.
Right. They're cat and mousing because they're doing so many houses at the same time. So they even say like, hey, like one of the ways we'll pay you is we'll just get another lender and pay you off. Like,
I really don't love that. Like I get
Yeah.
the principle of a cash out refi, but when you start doing when you start really robbing, you know, Jeremy to pay Ethan to pay Aaron, that starts to get really that's just not good. I'm not saying it's illegal. I don't know if it's illegal, but it starts to border on like that's just not good practice at all. May even be illegal. I don't know. I just haven't gone down that road. But I don't think it's a good practice to be doing that. You know.
No, super helpful. So what would you recommend then? Sorry, I don't mean just one more question. I know office hours
No, go for it. Yeah.
Like because I'm pulling out a lot of cash with the goal of like hoping to get 25% annualized. But I also don't want to throw everything in one because you go south, then it's game over. So what is the best way to take a lower amount, right? Like 30K, to try to get, what would you recommend to try to get that 25% annualized, knowing that most people aren't looking for 30K for one single family fix and flip where I'm on first position?
So I have closed lots of deals where I've made higher than 25% annualized, but pretty much none of them went by smoothly and didn't have headache and hassle and lawsuits or very tough negotiations. Like we lowered our rates just because of that, just because of all of the like things that happen when you're going for that. You can do it, but there's no secure and good spot where you can just kiss your money goodbye and say, oh, I'm going to give it with so and so and they're going to grow it at 25%. If that was true, like if I could just have a spot where I could take anybody's money and super secure, no hassle, no problem, grow it at 25%, I'd be a billionaire right now.
Yeah.
Billionaire. No questions asked. Because if I could turn the money at that good of a rate securely, then I would arbitrage it in a fund and it'd be game over.
Yeah.
You'd be the richest person on earth in no time if you could securely crunch and turn funds passively at 25% annualized, because you'd arbitrage that and it would just explode. When you're getting into those kind of rates, you really have to be doing something more active, or you just have to take a big risk or get lucky. Like you can make 25% annualized by just investing in Apple, Amazon, Best Buy, Walmart, whatever. Just buy a stock. It might go up, it might go down. You don't know. Like if you want to guarantee a 25% annualized, like it's super, super tough to get that. There are some investments like the most likely place you can get that kind of stuff. There's actually some really good funds that I've looked into for multifamilies or RV parks where they're not like doing ground up development. They're not doing the risky stuff. They basically have like real estate assets that exist that are cranking out like 12, 13, 14% cash on cash right now. And there's a lot of upside and a lot of room for improvement. So they promised their lenders, like, look, worst case scenario, you might get 12% on your money. Best case scenario, there's projections for 25 to 30%, but your money is going to be locked up for 5 years and you're going to get like a 9 or 10% annualized, maybe 8% annualized as a distribution every quarter. So you're only going to get a little bit on it every quarter. And then in 5 years, you'll get the payout and it'll result in maybe 20 to 30% annualized if it's a really, really good payout. But it also might only be 12 to 14% if the market falls, or there's a risk of you losing capital if there's a big fall in the market as well. But the most secure spot, like you're looking for high security, pretty much zero hassle, and the best guarantee of making a 25% return, or not just like losing all of it but getting a lower return, it would be those types of funds.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Thank you, guys. Remind me what rate you guys lowered to for your company.
Well, ours is different because it's just a flat fee. So like we take pretty much all of our overhead and stuff and wrap it into one big fee instead of charging all these other fees that lenders charge separately. So it looks pretty high annualized. It is about 30% annualized on a 6-month rate because it's 15% flat in 6 months. But that includes a whole lot of other stuff, including not getting any of it until the very end, not even getting a monthly payment. So that's what our current rates are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Eric pre Creative Cash Partners was doing deals, primarily rescue, right? That's like the best way to maybe describe it.
Fire deals,
Rescuing,
on fire, put out the fire.
Yep, he was a firefighter, and he would rescue people in trouble who had no other option. Like no other lender would ever even consider. They wouldn't even dream of lending money to these folks because they were in such a dumpster fire. But Eric would still lend, ensuring that he had enough collateral.
Yep.
And then it was an active fight to get to the end, right? It was dragging that borrower across the finish line. We're going to get there. Here's an option. Let's negotiate this. Let's do this. Forcing the hand as well if needed to get them to get to the end and make the kind of decisions they would need, because the reason they got there in their first dumpster fire is that they had a pattern of making decisions that just didn't make sense often. So that was kind of he was a firefighter private money lender, and that he made good money doing it and helped people that probably didn't see it as help, but still helped them out of their dumpster fire. But now, we're in Creative Cash Partners. Our goal is to work with people who are trying to, build up their business and move from, say, that 5 fix and flips a year to doing more like 5 a month. Damien.
Hey guys, do you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Hey, I have a question, maybe more related to your team and the way that you guys structure your obligations and duties as a team. As you guys know, Brian and I joined ventures together, and we have deals going, exciting stuff happening, building a good brand. But curious on how you guys like separate duties or obligations within the team and within the different money requests that you get, the underwriting, the funding, the capital raising, and all that. Just trying to get ideas. And you guys have a lot more experience and maybe tested a few things, but just curious.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm assuming you guys are doing it as a joint venture partnership for the time being.
That is correct, yeah.
So you got your LLC, he's got his LLC, you've got your bank account, and he's got his bank account.
Yeah, and the idea in this, we want to work probably, keep working together. We're doing really good. We good communicators, both of us, and
Yeah.
I've been in business for a while, maybe 6 to 12 months, joining ventures, and then in the future starting something bigger if everything goes okay.
Yeah. Well, I think a joint venture is a great structure to begin with. We started that. Ironically, we didn't even do looks like Eric's hopping off. All right, see you, Eric. Thank you for hopping on today. We did not do we actually didn't do a deal together as a joint venture before we finally decided to just start the company. We were working on the company together, and so we had built some operations, and we just felt really comfortable working with one another, even though we hadn't actually pulled a deal off. So our particular structure is a true LLC partnership, and we're clear visionary integrator mix for sure. Like Eric is 100% visionary. I'm 100% integrator. I am all systems, all processes, and Eric is not really that. He can turn on the system side of his brain, but that is not his first tendency. It is dive in head first and figure out how to make stuff happen. So starting out of the gate, working together, our roles were, I was primarily the underwriting and just making sure everything got buttoned up properly, handling paperwork and all of that. Eric was primarily negotiating, working with capital partners, maintaining those relationships, and coming up with new ideas for how do we structure these programs, these lending options that we've got. We collaborated together to ultimately come up with our lending package. What does our loan product actually look like? And now we've added some employees. So now it's me, Eric. We've got Mariel, who does all of our underwriting now with the systems I built. And then she manages the paperwork and most of the capital partner communication. Any further negotiation still is Eric. And then I am entirely on building out the systems, the SOPs, and all of that stuff for our company. And then we just added a salesman. His name is Wesley, and he is working all of our sales leads. And right now, Wesley does directly report to me, but he's collaborating and working with me and Eric, because Eric is going to be still more of that visionary. He's got all the ideas for how are we going to package this product up? How are we going to help, connect with the right people? So I don't know if that kind of answers your question.
Absolutely.
Beating up our partnership, but yeah. I don't know exactly
Absolutely.
what that would look like as a joint venture because we didn't really get deep into that. I'd have to think on that, but yeah, hopefully that helps.
No, 100%. I appreciate you guys letting me know. And then everyone else that you bring after you guys is mainly employees, I'm
Oh, yeah.
assuming, right? They're no partners. Or
Yeah,
anything.
we're not splitting shares with anybody else at this point. It's all right now. It's all 1099 employees, so they have their own write-offs, their own everything, because it doesn't make sense for us to start entering into that payroll and at this stage in the game. So 1099 is the way to go for sure. It also allows our employees to then write off stuff. So if they're spending money on anything that might be related to this work they're providing us, they're a contractor, so they get to write all of that off. So I think our executive assistant actually ended up only paying $100 in taxes this year.
Nice.
Because she had natural expenses associated with her work that she was doing.
Yeah. And along those lines, sorry. I was going to ask you, like, as we get started, so we have 3 people on our team right now and building the systems and all that. What CRM would you recommend with the vision that we're growing maybe to 5-6 people in the next 12 months and maybe doubling that in the next 24 months?
Sure.
I would like to build something from day one that we don't have to change so many times in the future.
Yeah. I wish I had the perfect answer on that. I'm not sure I've built something that won't have to build that we won't have to build again at some point down the road. But right now, we actually have 2 CRMs, and part of that is because they have unique features that are better for different things. So we have Monday for managing our loans, just because it's a little bit more of a there's kind of spreadsheet type logic in it that allows you to do calculations and things like that, which helps you kind of store some of the information and track essentially the loans as a project, right? So it's a lead that came in, it's now moved to this point, so you know exactly at what stage each loan request is at, right? But for our lead gen and our ads coming in through pay-per-click and all of that, and managing those connections with people and our email list and all of that stuff, that's in Go High Level. And Go High Level is a phenomenal tool. I mean, it's insane the amount of stuff that's in Go High Level, but it has very limited capabilities to manage unique calculations, numbers, things like that. So I was like, wow, for all of this amazing features, it doesn't have the ability to store calculations and help us, track what would be owed in 6 months from now. So I still needed to hire some additional help. I didn't build that all by myself. I had the vision for what it needed to look like and what it needed to do, but I still needed to hire an outsource from a Monday certified expert who could come in and help us build out like the calculations that we wanted to make sure that at the end of 6 months we had an accurate number for what is this loan going to cost the borrower, and being able to change that if they pay off early.
Does Go High Level, do they provide a website or the back end lead capture and lead follow-up and drip systems on the
Go High Level is
extremely,
Go High Level is really, that is where it shines. Our website's hosted there. Any funnels, lead magnets, or anything like that will go through Go High Level. Our pay-per-clicks funnel into Go High Level. Our email list is in Go High Level. Our salesman works out of Go High Level, so any lead that comes in, he reaches out to them through Go High Level. We make calls from Go High Level. We can text from Go High Level, and we can email the clients through Go High Level, and it keeps it on their profile. So all the emails, all the texts, all the phone numbers is in one communication flow, essentially. I don't know if that's the right term for it, but it looks like a chat, but you see that you made a phone call, you see that you made a text, you see that there was an email. See you, Aaron. Thanks for hopping on.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. That was a good question. You're getting into my territories, obviously.
Oh, I have more. I just want to take the whole time.
Yeah. Is this helpful for other folks that are on the line too? Love to hear it.
Do you guys use any kind of AI tools?
Yes.
I don't know if High Level offers that.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Go High Level does have some AI. We haven't fully explored Go High Level. Go High Level is a newer tool for us as of January, February of this year, where we started really utilizing it. Monday has some embedded AI. So there's a few functions in AI or in Monday that are AI. So it's got some criteria that it looks at to determine what it's going to do. And so some fields will populate based off of AI. We don't use a lot of AI. It's very minimal because Monday's AI is not highly sophisticated yet. That's one of the challenges, is like figuring out what AI is useful and what is not fully developed yet. There's a lot of options in Go High Level for building out chatbots and things like that and training them so they can answer questions from your clients on your website. That's something I'd like to explore that I haven't had the bandwidth or time to fully vet and explore. But I think that would make a lot of sense. Put a chatbot on there, train it with all of your logic, all of your loan products, and allow it to answer questions for folks live.
Sweet. Did they build your website then? Do they include that in their package? Or
yeah, it's all included in the package. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Take care, Jeremy. In addition to utilizing AI in Monday, we use AI outside of Monday. We have obviously we have chat AIs through our Google business accounts. So you have Gemini, and then we also have ChatGPT. We have a paid version of ChatGPT for sure, because you get much better processing power and things like that. And I think ChatGPT is one that absolutely every person should have in their business at this point, because it's and the better you can learn to use it, the better you can learn to give it prompts because good information into it gives better information out. If you put in bad information into it, you will get bad information out of it. If it's just not grabbing what you're needing, if it's not comprehending what you need, then it won't be able to spit out very good information. But you can train ChatGPT. We have certain projects in ChatGPT where it's been trained on a topic. And so every time I go in there and I need to talk about a topic, I train myself with ChatGPT on topics I know nothing about, but I need to figure it out like now, kind of thing.
Can I rewatch these videos? Do you guys record them and put them somewhere?
This is broadcasting live on YouTube right now, and it will go into a playlist on my YouTube channel called Office Hours. So if you just go to my YouTube channel, I'll put that in the chat there. You can click on playlists, and you'll see Office Hours in that playlist, list of playlists there.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
You bet. Anybody else have any other questions? We can do maybe one more question, and then we better close for the day. All right. Well, this was great. I hope this was helpful for many of you as well. And we do this every single Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you're welcome to pop on. Just like today, it's typically very, laid back, very informal. We're here to answer questions, provide value where we can. If you're a borrower looking for 100% in funding and you're trying to figure out how in the world that works, and you're just trying to learn a little bit more about that, this is a great forum to ask those questions. If you're a lender trying to, figure out how to tighten up your processes, just like Damien's doing there. This is a great forum for doing that. We want to make ourselves available. We're super busy typically during the week, and we get a lot of requests from people like, can I hop on a call, ask you a couple of questions? We'd love to. This ends up being the best forum for us to be able to make ourselves available and try to help out where we can without, booking up the whole calendar. So, but thank you all for joining, and hopefully we'll see you all next week. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.